Hi, I'm David Jordan. In this video, I'm going to show you how to properly clean and lubricate your Glock pistol. You want to clean your weapon 3 times. 1 when you first get it, number 2 every time you take it to the range, and number 3 periodically whether you take it to the range or not. And you should be taking it to the range. Okay, so we've unloaded the gun. I've put on gloves because it simply makes it easier to clean up the mess afterwards. You can just get rid of the gloves and you don't have to wash so much crap off your hands. I pulled the slide to the rear, and what we're going to look for here is to make sure that the chamber is empty. And we're going to check it visually. We're going to check it physically. All right. Pull the slide back and let it go forward. Then we're going to point the barrel of the weapon in a safe direction where it couldn't possibly hurt someone. We're going to pull the trigger to the rear. This is necessary to allow the slide to come off. We're going to pull the slide to the rear just about 1/10 of an inch, and it's going to look about like that. You'll be able to hear it click just a little bit. We're going to pull the slide stop down on both sides. It may be a little more difficult with gloves. And then we're going to slide the slide forward while we pull the slide stops down on both sides equally. Pull the slide forward and you will feel it release. We're just going to slide that completely off. There's the receiver, and we'll just put that aside for now. We'll take the slide and we'll turn it over. Pull out the recoil spring assembly. There. We'll just set that aside. The barrel, like I describe it by the lugs, and pull it out that way, and it will lift up, and you kind of jiggle it around a little bit and pull it back and out, and it'll slide right out. There's nothing holding it in, so it shouldn't be a problem. Just kind of takes a little playing with to get it right. And essentially this is what it's going to look like in its field strip position. Now you can go further than this, but what I recommend is, unless you've had the proper training, that you should probably leave this to the experts. Leave it to somebody that's been trained in disassembling the weapon. Alright, so now we've got it field stripped, and I want to make sure that you understand that for the majority of your routine maintenance, this is all you need right here. And this is probably one of the most neglected things that occur. So you really don't need a lot of, you don't have to take the weapon all the way down to every pin. This is adequate right here. Alright, so we've got some solvent. You want a good quality solvent. Make sure you read the directions. Make sure that, especially if your skin is sensitive to any kind of chemicals or things like that, or if you're not sure, again, latex gloves or some type of other alternative there. They make non-latex gloves that are just as good for whatever you want. They even make them in tactical black if that's important to you. These just happen to be what I have. Get a good quality solvent, and the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and get a patch inside the barrel and get it started. Get some solvent in there. And I'll slide the patch through there just like that. And I'm sure there's other ways. I do it the non-fancy way. I just shove it in there. I kind of squeeze off the excess in that regard. If it's you certainly don't want to do this on a table that you're going to want to protect the surface. So like we've got a good surface for that here. You might want to lay newspaper down or find a different surface. So what I'm going to do here is from the muzzle end, I'm going to just slide that through all the way till it comes out the other side. Some people recommend, it's probably recommended that you take it off at this point and do it again. I don't do that. That's just a simple version. When I'm putting solvent inside the barrel, the main thing I want to do is make sure it is thoroughly soaked with the solvent. I'm also going to take a Q-tip. I use a billion Q-tips for this. I'm going to make sure that all the parts that commonly accrue a lot of powder residue and things like that, I want to make sure that I get plenty of solvent on that, because all I'm going to do here is let this soak and I don't know if that's a good term for it, but that's what I'm going to call it, around the feed ramp and things like that, around the other side, just like that. And really all I want to do is just make sure there's plenty of solvent on it, and I'm going to let that just kind of let it start working on the powder and things like that. And we'll come back to that here shortly. I'm also going to do very similar to the same thing on the slide. Some people would have a fit because I keep dunking it, but I keep double dunking, but I don't get bothered by things like that. Again, I'm just kind of putting the solvent in there, let it start breaking up the powders. In a minute we're going to get in there and start really making sure that stuff gets out of there. Note here that your firing pin, where it comes out here, we want to make sure that while we're saturating this sucker with the solvent, that we have the firing pin opening facing downward. We don't want oils and solvents to get back up into there where the firing pin is. It will actually accumulate more gunk and debris and cause problems with your firing pin over time. It'll bog that firing pin down, and we don't want that. It will cause malfunction, so we want to make sure that the opening for the firing pin is down when you're saturating it. So I've hit pretty much the parts that I'm most concerned about. It doesn't mean that we're through. We'll put some more on there shortly. And then I will start a pile of dirty stuff. I will also, because this isn't too filthy, take and look around and find some other parts that I might be concerned about and get those where they've got some solvent on them as well. Okay. With the recoil spring assembly, I usually that's usually where I start. There's no method to the madness there. It's just where I start. The main thing is, hopefully you can see that there's debris on there, and I'm just going to take and let's take a cleaner one and take a look at that first, and so that you'll kind of get an idea. I've already wiped some of it off, but you kind of get the idea that this thing is pretty nasty. This specific gun was cleaned not too long ago, but it has been fired since then, so we're going to... All right, it doesn't have to be perfect, so keep that in mind. If you're like me, you tend to be a little anal retentive about things. You can go overboard in a simple routine maintenance of your weapon can end up in a 3-hour gun cleaning session. We don't have to do that. The main thing is things that get in the way, gunk, dirt, debris, oils and stuff like that. We want to make sure we get that stuff off. That's the main thing. So we clean that off as good as we can. If you think it's necessary, there are brushes that you can use that would get down in there a little better. And what I'll do here, just to kind of show you that, I'll get a little solvent on there, and I'll just kind of moisten that all the way around, like that. And then I'll take this brush, which is a nylon brush, not a hard bristle brush. I'm just going to kind of brush that like I were brushing my teeth. Just kind of get in there, and the main thing, I just want to take care of the spring as much as I can, because this spring is going to take care of me if I have to use my weapon, and I want to avoid those problems. So anything down in there that I want to dislodge and get out of there, that I can do that by brushing it, and again wiping it down well. I will typically, while I've got my weapon apart, I will look at it, kind of operate the spring to see if it's compressing evenly and things like that. No major deal. Main thing, I want to make sure there's no separation in the spring where it is broken. Make sure that the rod itself is still intact, which you're going to know if it's not. But just kind of, while you've got it apart, always kind of get in the habit of double checking it for those things as well. All right, so now I'm going to take the nylon brush, the small end, and I'm just going to get all those little places I couldn't get otherwise. I'm going to get all, particularly in between the lugs on the top. I'm just going to brush it like I'm brushing my teeth. Just get in there and kind of go at it. Again, don't use a wire brush or anything like that on there. This is I don't anyway. I'm going to check around the front of the barrel and make sure. Even if I don't see anything, I'm going to brush that as well because it gets frustrating to me if I miss a spot, get all the way down to the end, and that's when you see it. So I'm going to get all around in there. Make sure that right in here where the feed ramp is, make sure that you can make sure that that's smooth and that there's no buildup on there. If there is, I usually keep just a small, inexpensive but very sharp knife. This is an old Barlow. I think somebody gave me years ago, and I use a little pointy end. And I will take that and very carefully just kind of make sure, like get some of that that buildup on there. Again, I don't treat my weapon like a princess, but I don't want to do unnecessary damage either. So what I'm going to do is carefully get in there and make sure that any of that debris that's there gets out, and just visually and manually double check that to get that stuff off. All right, so I've done that, and then I'm going to take a rag. I'm sorry, not a rag, a patch, and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to start drying it. Once we have used the solvent for whatever we're going to use it for what it's designed to do, we'll take this patch and get off the dirt and the solvent. We want the components of our weapon to dry. We don't want to put them back together while they're still wet with solvent. And when I look at my patch, we see that it's dirty and there's more to do. So that's kind of my gauge for how much I need to do. Now I've got it mostly dry, and you may not be able to see this, but I also notice here that there's some buildup right in here. Everything else looks pretty good. The lugs are pretty clean. Everything else is fine. And this probably wouldn't do anything. But I kind of I have the same theory with an airplane. If I'm not really sure, I'm going to fix that. So all I'm going to do here is take a Q-tip and get that wet. Run it right just in that one little spot. I'm going to soak it, get it moist with the solvent. I'm going to take the little part of the brush and get in there and just brush it. I'm going to put a little extra elbow grease into it this time. And sometimes I will even use a Q-tip or something like that, or a cotton applicator, I think the medical department calls it. If you can go to Walgreens and get your hands on these, any kind of pharmaceutical place, and probably even Walmart, I get these by the bags. Sometimes I have people that'll give me a bag or a handful of them. I use these like anybody's business. I use a lot of those. But if you don't have them, regular Q-tips seem to work just fine. The only good thing about these is you can really get down in there, and sometimes I use that in too. But, so I'm gonna get in there, and now when I look at it, it's dry, and when I look down in there, all that buildup is gone. So I'm just kind of inspecting. I'm gonna look around. It's all clean. There's no buildup. I'm going to look at the other end where sometimes you'll get residue and build up around here or on the inside. I've checked you'll want to, like one way to check it is to just to hold the barrel up to the light and look through it, and you will see the reflection of the light inside the barrel. And if you see any kind of deposits or like powder buildup or anything, don't ignore that. Go ahead and clean it out until it's sufficiently clean. Wipe it down, the whole thing, until the rag comes out as clean as you want it. For my purposes, that'll do just fine. I'm not trying to win an award. I'm not worried about anything except keeping my weapon clean so that it'll function properly. That's what this is, maintenance. It's not a beautification process. So I've got the slide, and I'm going to make sure that, again, you know, where we've kind of pre-moistened things and let that solvent start to work. Now we're going to get busy on it, and I'll take my brush and I'll just get busy. I'll get in there and find the nooks and crannies where the residue and the powder builds up, and I'm just going to loosen that stuff up with the solvent. Again, just be reminded that I've got the opening where the firing pin is. I've got that facing down so that no liquids or dirt or anything like that gets down into where the firing pin is. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to take and put some more solvent where the rails are on the side of this Glock here. I'm just going to get enough on there where it just literally just runs down into the rails, and you can tell by the Q-tip that this thing really needs to be cleaned, even though it has been cleaned not too long ago. So I'll get in there, and I'm actually going to brush in between the rails. If the inside of the rails are not clean, this weapon will begin to cause problems for you, and so we don't want that to happen. Around the outside, now, over time you can expect that the tinniferring on the outside of the Glock slide will begin to wear a little bit, but that's perfectly fine. All it means is it'll look more like a primer or a silver color underneath, but it's still protected. So I'm going to make sure I get around there, because you're going to get a lot of powder debris, build up around there. All right. So I've got the places that I want to get mostly. Now I am going to take the small part of this, and I'm going to put a little bit of solvent on there. I don't want it dripping with solvent, and I'm going to kind of, I'm going to show you this way so that you can see, but I'm going to get right in here with that Q-tip. I'm just going to do it inverted, and I've wet the Q-tip, but then I'm just going to dab it on one of the patches, and I'm going to run it back and forth, because what I want to do, I want to clean that breech face right there. But again, I do want to be careful so that I don't get solvent down in the firing pin chamber. So I do that, and then I just kind of clean around in there, and I'm going to look and see if that suits me. It should be smooth, no debris. When I run a patch there, you kind of see how dirty that is. And there you can only imagine. All right, yeah, that looks pretty good to me, and I'm going to leave that alone. Now that it's clean and lubricated, it's time to reassemble. So we'll take the slide and invert it. Put the barrel back in. You'll feel it seat. coil spring assembly. Put that down in the little half moon shape of the lugs right there. Make sure that we put it on all 4 of the rail slots. Pull it all the way back. Let it go. Real test will invert the weapon, pull the trigger. If the slide falls off, your friends will make fun of you. If it doesn't, then we've actually assembled the weapon properly. Okay, so there it is. It doesn't take a long time. It would probably actually, in most cases, take less time to physically do it yourself than it was to film the video. The main thing is knowing what to do and how to do it. Now that we've got the weapon reassembled, of course I want to load it again, and we're ready to go. I want to thank you for taking the opportunity to watch the video. I hope it helps you, and feel free to leave your comments, and we'll see you next time.